I don't know how you are, but I know personally for the longest period of my life, probably the darkest period of my life, I would just wait for that text to come in. Hey, you want to come hang out? Hey, we're doing this. Do you want to come do this with us? Instead of actually being the person that arranged those things. And when you start building habit and routine into this, it gets a lot easier to manage these relationships in a systematic way. And that really does work well for our types of brains, the systematic, if this, then that type of brain. So I think there is a good marriage between the two, and you can do a lot of work even if you don't have a high emotional intelligence. So I think this is something worth addressing.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I think that there are opportunities for us to use the fact that we're so logic-minded as audio engineers, we're so technically minded as audio engineers, and that might not be everybody listening. You might be making a solid living or starting to make a solid living being the creative in the room and not touching any knobs. If you are, good for you. That's awesome. Way more power to you. But I think if you are one of these people like Brian and I who see everything as a logical problem to solve, that's not necessarily a bad thing if you apply it correctly. And that's when I say that having a good EQ is a skill, that it's a tool that you need to develop.
Are you talking about the graphical equalizer, or are you talking about the emotional intelligence with that EQ?
The emotional intelligence
just
with that EQ, sorry. So that I'm appealing to that technician inside of us by calling it a skill. It's a skill? Oh, well, I'm going to be awesome at it.
Yeah.
That's how.
It's more complex than that.
Yeah, it's more complex than that, but at least if you see it as something you can get better at. So case in point, changed my life. I read a blog post about 2 years ago from Tim Ferriss.
Side note, you don't really hear that term very often. You don't really hear that many people say that blog post changed my life, but I'm glad that you just said it.
Well, it was from Tim Ferriss.
That's true.
So
okay, his blog posts are basically little books.
Yeah, they're both basically little books. He pointed out that falling asleep is a skill. And I, up until about 2 years ago, was absolutely horrendous at it. I would typically lay in bed for an hour or two each night, trying to calm my mind down. A nap was out of the question. I'm
not gonna lie. I am amazing at that skill. I just turn over and fall asleep almost at a whim.
I am getting there. I'm okay at it. But it wasn't until I saw it as a skill and engaged my nerdy technician, I must assimilate this skill into my body, like weirdness. So I think this is a healthy conversation to appeal to us as engineers, which is what we are, that this is a skill that we can possess.
Yeah, you can take a left-minded approach to a right-minded. You can take a left-brained approach to a right-brained issue. I would say the emotional intelligence side is more of a right-brain creative type, ethereal thinking type thing, something that I really struggle to even grasp and understand. But there are systems and processes and structured approaches to improving that skill of that very airy thing that's hard to grasp sometimes.
Here's an actual tactical piece of advice for that. If you are lucky enough to have found someone you love and you are struggling to balance your career with your relationship with them, you guys should sit down and you should talk about boundaries. And you should get a piece of paper out and you should write down rules, mutual rules, not her or him telling you what to do, but you as a couple deciding what it is, what are the boundaries that you should respect. So one of those might be if you have to mix late, you'll mix on headphones after 11 p.m. or something like that. That you'll structure your day in a way where you're like, well, I'll do the type of work that I can do with headphones later at night so that I'm not like subwoofer, at 3 a.m. when your wife has to go in to her job the next day or something like that. So I think having that conversation with a piece of paper, it shouldn't be like a paragraph. It should be bullet points, in my opinion. Really simple, really easy. 1, no mixing after XYZ. 2, no reading blog posts and debating people on gearsluts.com about meaningless junk while watching a movie with one's significant other.
Stay fully present.
There are all these things that you can do where you can 80-20 and say, well, what causes 80% of our problems that's related to my career? Can we come up with boundaries and a list of rules that helps me know it's not appropriate to be watching, some romantic movie with your spouse at night while also arguing about which manufacturer has the best microphones on Gear Sluts or something like that?